Good afternoon, Santa Clarita. This is Jesus Henao of Leola Commercial, and welcome to the Commercial Hour. Be in the know your city. If you're thinking about owning or selling apartments in an industrial building or shopping center, you're in the right place. We talk commercial real estate in Santa Clarita. Live the dream, put on your jersey, sweatband, get in the game. We're here every Monday from 12 to 1, KHTS, AM 1220, FM 98.1. In studio today, we have Donohugh with Intertex. How are you?
Well, thank you, Jesus.
Great. So we're going to jump right into it today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Dale. How did you get involved in the construction business?
I was college at Claremont and a degree in math and economics, and going to work for Arthur Anderson. Or a girlfriend at the time, her father owned a business in construction, and decided to go into business. Didn't work out for the girlfriend, so we bought him out, and 34 years later, here I am.
Wow. It's funny how I sold a gas station in Claremont, of all places. It was a, what was it? It was a Valero, and they switched it over to a Chevron. Pretty interesting. That's interesting business, selling gas stations. Very interesting when you deal with environmental issues and whatnot. So what was your first deal? I mean, what made you like that? Because I have a lot of friends that, hey, I'm going to do accounting, I'm going to be an attorney, and they end up somewhere else.
Funny enough, first deal was for Tom and Roberta Vilos. Okay. They owned Aquafine, and we moved a door from one location to the next. That was job 84001. Right now we're on 975.
Wow.
And now we only count job numbers over 25,000 for the last 30 years. So we are approaching 1,000 jobs, and we've done over $1 billion in construction.
Fantastic. So that looked like it was a TI deal then, right?
It was.
And we talk. My wife's an architect, and we've brought some other people in. We talk about TI work, and people looking to start their own business. What recommendations do you have? Say I have a store and I want to put in there, let's say a sushi place, and I saw the shell, I like it. The broker said, yeah, we can do it here, and then they go to you. How does the process get to you?
Basically, we usually get our referrals from brokers and other tenants, and
from your signs all over town.
Yes, thank you. That's another story. But really, we start off with a conversation with the prospective tenant, and we really try and drill down on what he wants, and then really advise him how long it's going to take, the process with either the city or the county, and in your instance, hopefully it was a prior restaurant, because if it wasn't, then we give them the bad news about the water fees and the sewer connection fees.
And the health department.
Absolutely.
The health department seems to be like the stumbling block in a lot of deals.
If you plan ahead, they won't be, but it does take long because that goes through LA County.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. I've seen guys, my wife did a Honu Cafe. Everything looked good, and the health department came in from L.A. The lady, the inspector, was a little mad that she had a deal through traffic to get up to 405 to get here. So she walks in. I'm just setting this up. She walks in. She's sweating. She's mad. She's got anger in her eyes, and she starts going off on everybody. Says, no, you got to change the grease trap. And okay, we'll do it. Comes back. The grease trap is like $6,000.
Oh, you got a deal on that, actually. That must have been a small one.
It was a small one,
yeah.
But I couldn't believe it. So great. So now, how important is the plans? Because what I've seen is the tenant comes to you and they say, okay, we want to do this, and we don't have any plans. And I hear this all the time. I hear this from other construction people. Are you pulling plans or are you not pulling plans? What are they talking about?
Well,
and what are the pitfalls there? And you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, basically they're saying, hey, no plans. They're going to try and bootleg it in and try and see if they can get away with doing something and opening. It's not going to work because someone's going to find out. Really, you need to get a qualified architect, your wife, others, that knows the city and or county processes, and start from scratch with them, because you need to accurately reflect what's existing and what's going to go in, and then do all the code requirements to present to the city and or county.
Exactly. So the advice is, do not take the shortcut, because the shortcut's going to kill you in the end.
It will bite you, because if you try and bootleg it in, you're going to find out that whoever you're dealing with that's advising you to bootleg it in is probably not that qualified. Number two, most likely you're going to get caught. And number three, if you do get caught, you're going to start paying increased fines, triple plan check fees, and or some other fines. And you're going to have to probably tear out most of what you put in to redo it right.
Exactly. And okay, so there's a bunch of projects around town that we see your signs up all over the place. Let's talk about the one that's going up next to Magic Mountain, the McDonald's there. How long from start to finish? When did they? It was the Marie Callender's, correct?
Yes.
How long from start to finish? At what point did they contact you, the owner, say, or I think the property was sold to a developer, and he came in and said, "Hey, this is what I want to do." Let's go through that little process. How does that work? The Marie Callender's is there. Where do you get involved in this?
That's a great question. My involvement started probably 13 years ago.
Really?
A guy named David Lee is one of the partners in the ownership. He owns Ferris Lee Investments.
I know Ferris Lee very well.
And they're a big-time commercial brokerage, as you know, mainly on investment sales. And he was our partner in a couple other projects. And he was asking me, hey, want to tear this down and build something, what do you think? And we were going to do it 8 years ago, and the timing wasn't right. Then they decided about 3 years ago, all right, we're going to move forward. We gave Marie Callender's as many extensions as we could, but it's time to move on. And they contacted us and said, right from the start, and said, okay, what do you think? What should we do here? And they were going to do a bunch of multi-tenant buildings. And I told them, I say, hey, you had mentioned earlier gas stations. Gas stations are hot. They're, ground leases 180 to 220,000 annually for a site like that. And then I know the local McDonald's operator. So I told them, I said, hey, why don't you think about putting a McDonald's there? And so we put the Schutz family together with the developer. So we ended up with only one multi-tenant drive-through building that has the Coffee Bean. Then we have a gas station on a ground lease, and then a McDonald's on a ground lease. So we were involved from day one, and with their ownership, we were acting as the construction manager, general contractor, and advising them on tenants in the local market, and going through the county process because that was a very complicated site. Not only did you have an existing building, but you had land that was a part of a Caltrans deal. You had land that was part of road realignment on the old road.
Sure.
Then you had all the oil pipelines that went through there. And then you had some buildable area and some non-buildable. And so we had to navigate all that. So that took 2.5 years to get through that.
Wow. And also you have the tanks in there for the gas.
Yes.
And you have the lines in there, so I'm sure that must have been very complicated.
Very complicated.
And what architect did you use for that? Or did you do that in-house? Because that seems...
No, we always use third-party architects. It was an architect that the developer used from Orange County. We used a local civil engineer, which I always recommend that you use a local civil engineer because they need to navigate the process for engineering, grading, storm drain, low-impact development. And CRC was the local civil engineer that navigated the county process to get those approvals. And then a building is usually a building, and nowadays you can submit your building plans online, and you don't have really that much interaction with the plan checkers.
Really? And what about cost-wise to build something like that? Because I get asked all the time, what does it cost to build something like that? How does that work?
What's funny you say that because I tell everybody that, especially we get calls all the time from doctors, dentists, professionals, first-time developers that says, hey, I just want to buy a piece of land, usually you say 1 acre. I just want to have my own building, and then I want to lease out a little bit to some others so they can pay for my building. Mm-hmm. They don't realize is really in Santa Clarita there's no 1 acre parcels that are readily available. And two, you just can't go through that and get through it that quickly, and they don't realize how long it takes to do that, and really all the facet that it goes when you buy a piece of property. And another thing I tell people is it's not how much you pay for the property that really matters. It's how much you have in cost when the property is ready to dig footings. And what I mean by that is if you buy a remote piece of property, say on Sierra Highway,
Okay.
and
There's a lot of that.
and you think, oh my goodness, I'm a genius. I'm going to get this for, say $10 a square foot of commercial. But they don't realize there's a flood control playing through there, or the utilities are a mile away, or the soil's no good, or all these other things, or they have a very large lot, and the B&T fees on commercial are based on the gross acreage, not just on your building size. So it's really about how much are you into it for cost when you could actually put a backhoe on the site and dig footings. So you've paid for all the grading, you paid for all the storm drain, you paid for all the utilities to get there, you paid your B&T fees, and now you're ready to build your building. Whatever that cost is, that's the most important.
With that mathematics major, that really helps out, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Costs going up.
Exactly. So is it getting? We talked about rent control in a couple of shows back. We tackled the Prop 10 question, and why is it good? Is it bad? And what's the real problem? And what we came up with was the process. You just said it took 2-3 years
Yes.
to build that site. So that process seems very long. And I hear this all the time. If you go to Texas, you're up and running really fast. Why is that? What is the difference there? Because going back to that Prop 10, that's what it is. There's just not enough housing. I don't think we can build enough. And the process, if it's taking you 2 to 3 years, the economy might leave us behind. Correct?
Absolutely. We are working on several larger developments, and we're telling our clients 5 years to get approvals. And we all know about Newhall Ranch. It's 22 years to get approved, and many others that take a very, very long time. And a lot of times people want to blame it on the city, but the city is really just the enforcer of codes that come from the state. So with CEQA, city of Santa Clarita or the LA County didn't make up CEQA. The state did, and now they just have to abide by it. Or low impact development, where they're given these set of rules that they got to maintain for water discharge with SUSUMP and everything else. So it becomes the city, as everyone complains it's them, but it's really not. They're the enforcer of all the state requirements that they got to uphold.
So the elections are important this year.
Always.
Always, exactly. People don't realize that because they put the blame on the greedy investor. And we had actually an attorney come in, and we talked about the rent control. And he said one thing that was surprising. He said most owners are mom and pop people that own maybe 5 or 6 buildings, 10 to 20 units, and that's the majority of owners. It's not the big, or they say the big bad corporation. I don't think it's not that. The big corporations like the REITs and whatnot, they own the larger projects that are 200, 300 units. Those are mainly newer buildings. There's no rent control there. So they're not the greedy landowner. It's the mom and pop just trying to make ends meet. That's their primary business. They're taking the phone calls at 8 o'clock at night. Hey, there's a leak in my roof, a pipe burst, my toilet's clogged, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's a misconception of who really the owner is. So, it's important to vote. And, I think you hit the nail on the head. It takes so long to build. I don't think we'll ever meet the demand for housing.
No, and as you know, I don't really do a lot of housing, but I know developers that do, and then you see how long it takes to get things approved. And unfortunately for my business follows housing. So I need houses and rooftops up before I can cater to my commercial clients that want to cater to those rooftops. So we're currently in a development right now on a project at Plum Canyon and Skyline Ranch.
Okay.
Skyline Ranch is 2,200 homes going in, new road, and it's been a long time in the making. So until those houses are up, or I can tell the potential tenants that these houses will be up, I won't be able to get any commercial tenants.
That's right. Absolutely. Because who are they going to sell to?
Exactly.
And when you build your center, or there's somebody comes and builds, how do you select those tenants? How do you know what the area needs? I mean, because you see, I'll give you an example. Right down the street on the old road, I think it was the Albertsons that's there.
Yes.
That's been dark for many years now. I think like 5 years at least.
Right.
I mean, what do you see going on as far as economics in the valley? Because we have a lot of industrial going up. There's the Needham Ranch site going up. I see a lot of industrial, some retail going up. How do you calculate? How do you navigate that? Because that center's been vacant. How do you know exactly what to build or what to bring in there?
That's a great question, and the guy that answers it correctly will make a lot of money. But with that said, grocery stores. Let's talk about that. The traditional grocer is getting attacked on all sides. You have home delivery. Amazon bought Whole Foods, and so that's on the cusp of being a reality in everyday life. You have the segmented market of, you got an influx of Hispanic markets that are traditional Hispanic markets catering to that clientele.
Yeah, we could use a lot of Vallartas. I love Vallarta.
Yes. You have the Trader Joe's, you have Costco, you have Target, you got Walmart, and all of these, and then the health foods ones that were like Sprouts and Whole Foods. So the market, when there was a traditional grocer that had all those things, is now getting attacked, and their market share is decreasing dramatically. And so we used to be able to plan one grocer for every 5,000 people. Now they're saying it's one grocer for every 15,000 people.
Wow.
Because of all the other people nipping at their heels for that consumer's demand for groceries.
You know, interesting enough on that point is, you know, I think the way people traditionally shop is out the window. Because just to survive, I did some quick calculations a while back. Just to survive in California, 2-income family, minimum, you have a couple of kids, minimum you have to make about $120,000 a year. And people hear that number like, wow, you're doing very well. In actuality, it's not a lot once you start factoring in rent, mortgage payment, kids going to school, uniforms, book. I mean, you name it, that number goes down fast. And then you throw tax in there, and California's at 13%. And yes, there's been some reprieve of taxes with what Trump has done, but still, you're getting hammered. I mean, I tell people all the time, just look at your gas bill, look at your electric bill. It's like there's a nice paragraph of taxes, cell phone, sales tax, you name it. You're getting hit from all sides.
Yeah, what are we, the number 2 tax state in the nation?
Exactly. And the traditional way, back to that, the traditional way of doing business is out the window. You have to work, and where I was leading up to that was, you need the 2 incomes. Both mother and father are working. They're trying to make ends meet. Who's got time to go on a Saturday, tired from the week, they want to rest, to go in the grocery store, shop around, the kids are running around, do all that, come home, put everything away, when you just go on your cell phone and say from the comfort of your bed, hey, I need this, I need eggs, milk, hit the button, pay for it, the credit card's on file, and within an hour, 2 hours, they're at my doorstep with the food.
Exactly. The other thing I wanted to mention is an axiom where we're at is 2 things. Time kills all deals.
Oh, I've heard that. And attorneys.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
And you know what I'm talking.
They make a killing, and they kill you. And another thing is, nothing good happens with time in terms of development. It only gets worse.
Sure.
It never gets better. So they just throw more bureaucracy at you. They throw more rules at you, and things become more stringent.
Yeah, and also the holding costs start going up because you have money invested in a piece of land. You're paying the taxes. You're paying whatever's you have to do to the site. Those costs don't go away. They're just sitting there. So every month you're paying, and the bureaucracy is growing. And next you know, that 2-year deal or the 1-year deal turns into 5, 6.
And you miss the market.
Yeah. You know, it's funny you say that. I did a deal, I mentioned this before, 240 acres off of Pico Canyon, and I was in escrow 5 years to build on a 240-acre site. We're only using maybe 60 acres of it, 80 acres of it, and to build 102 homes. And we were in escrow 5 years. And I remember going to the county. We're sitting there. We have parks and recs, fire everybody. And to me, it looked like, you know, they'd open and close their eyes, and I saw dollar signs. because it was just about the money. But the delay, everybody had their hand out, but the delay was 5 years, and who's paying for those costs? And I think they just started to break ground, but my gosh, 5 years to build something, and then you ask, why are people leaving? Why is home prices so high? Why is everything so high in California? That's a big reason. All right.
And I don't even know at this point why developers want to do new projects. It's easier just to buy something and remodel it and retrofit it.
And we'll talk about that coming up. Once again, we have Dale Donohugh here in office. This is the Commercial Hour. Jesus Henao. We'll catch you back after the break.
Your building sign is essential in getting customers to your location. Feathers can help get your business noticed. They walk you through each phase of your building sign project, providing special attention to detail and quality. Feathers will give you a sign you can be proud of. Your building sign will draw customers in instead of having them drive by. Feathers on Soledad in Canyon Country, across from the Edwards Theater. Or go to feathersphoto.com. That's feathersphoto.com.
The VIP Grotto experience at the Ivy Day Spa. Your experience begins with a clay facial mask. Then you are painted with a soothing aloe vera shea butter coconut oil body mask. In temperatured chambers, you relax and allow the moisturizing masks to work their magic. Finally, you rinse off in a rainforest shower and finish with a pH balancing mist. Treat yourself to this hydrating and refreshing experience at the Ivy Day Spa. Call to reserve your VIP Grotto experience at 260-1244.
I've always been driven to serve our country and our community.
Congressman Steve Knight.
I served in the United States Army and spent 18 years as an officer with the Los Angeles Police Department. I ran for Congress because too often I saw people forgotten by Washington. The crisis at the VA exemplified a bureaucracy that was out of touch and hurting real people. As your congressman, I'm committed to making our government in Washington work better for you.
My name is David Brayton. I am an Air Force veteran. 10 years ago, my doctors told me that I had to have a double lung transplant. It was a massive uphill battle to get the VA to do what they said they were going to do in the first place. Finally, Steve Knight got involved, and if it wasn't for Steve Knight's assistance in this thing, I guarantee you I'd be dead. Steve Knight is a veteran, and he's LAPD on top of it. I'm voting for Steve Knight because he gets stuff done for us.
I'm Steve Knight, and I approve this message.
Aloha, friends! Go check out Donohugh Coffee, home of the best cold brew coffee. What makes their coffee special is how their organic coffee beans are infused with nitrogen to create a smooth and delicious cup of coffee. You'll also find traditional bold coffees and island-inspired signature drinks. They're the perfect place to catch up with friends or just relax with your favorite cup of joe. Donohugh Coffee on Lyons and Walnut in Newhall. Stop by and say aloha.
The Santa Clarita Artists Association has a new gallery in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Main and Railroad, right across from the Canyon Theater Guild. The gallery features our members' paintings, sculptures, and one-of-a-kind handcrafted gift items. Whether you're an art lover, buyer, or an artist wishing to join, visit our website at santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming events and exhibits, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
Find the perfect job for you at College of the Canyon's 2018 Job and Career Fair on the COC Valencia campus on Friday, October 19th from 9 till noon. The fair will feature businesses from many industries looking to fill positions ranging from entry-level to management. While at the fair, meet with employers, visit KHTS's virtual job fair, and attend one of the many career-related workshops. Bring plenty of resumes and dress to impress. Visit cocjobfair.com for more information. That's cocjobfair.com.
Santa Clarita's hometown station. Hometown station.
KHTS AM 1220 and the new 98.1 FM.
Welcome back. This is the Commercial Hour. This is Jesus Henao, Leola Commercial. We talk real estate here. Know your city. Know what's going on. We talk Santa Clarita commercial real estate. We have Dale Donohugh in studio, and we're going to continue talking more about what's going on in the area. So one question I had that I thought about in the break was, what are we doing repurposing these centers? And you said you had a great example of a site. Tell us about that. What was going on with it? And how many square feet was vacant, and then what happened?
We had a broker out of Sacramento, no less, contact us during the depth of the recession on the empty, what was to be a furniture outlet center on the old road at I-5 and 126, right next to the CHP station.
That's right.
And I just told them, no, I'm not interested. They got our name from talking to other investors and people, brokers in the area, say, hey, who could take this on? And they referred us. So the guy was persistent. So he called me 2 weeks later, say, hey, just look at it. I'm getting no action on this thing. My client is in need. And then he said, just make us an offer.
I was going to say, did he ask you the magic question?
Yes. And,
what are you?
That's the last thing you want to do to a.
What are you willing to pay for this?
Exactly. So.
Did we start salivating when
you
heard that?
I took a deep breath and just held on the phone and paused. I said, well, all right, let me look at it, but I don't think
Sure.
got so many other things. I'll see what I can do. So we looked at the center. It was 90,000 square feet.
Wow, it's big.
17,000 feet leased out. So,
oh my God!
No, that 17%.
17%.
17%. It was a Subway and a furniture store. Everything else was vacant.
Wow.
Turns out the developer, highly successful in Northern California. I won't use his name, but highly successful. Mm-hmm. He got convinced to take over this project from his buddy that was his main investor from Japan. And the father died, and long story short, the family wanted to consolidate, get out of Southern California, and they had invested with this particular developer in Northern California. So as a favor, he said, all right, I'll take it over. They paid him $2 million. This is probably in 2007 or 2005, right before the
crash.
The crash. And they said, hey, we're 2 months away from getting a permit, remember that, and we're 100% leased, and we'll pay you $2 million just to take it over what our cost is. So I don't know what the cost was at that time, say $7 million. So they basically said, buy it for $5 million, and we'll give you the $2 million, and just take it over, and we want to get out of here.
We want to clean our hands and move on.
And that was during the height of our really good economy.
Yeah.
So the guy's thinking, no brainer. So he took it over. He didn't really want to, but he did. 2 or 3 months to get the permit turned into 2 or 3 years.
And we talked about that just a few minutes ago.
And this was already 2 years trying to get it from a well-known developer that was handling the people's money from Japan in Orange County. So he opens the center in 2008.
Oh my gosh. Talk about timing.
And every furniture tenant, of course, there's nothing for them.
Down. You're on the.
They all bailed except one, which is that consignment guy, mm-hmm. and they had Panda Express in the drive-through. They had a Starbucks drive-through. They had all this other stuff committed. But since he took so long to get it built, of course, as you know, in leases there's a sunset clause.
Yeah.
They didn't have it done in time. They all bailed. So he's sitting there with a $30 million project, $21 million in debt, with 17% occupancy.
It was like he was on top of Goliath at Magic Mountain. He's just about to go looking
yes.
down the roller coaster.
So, long story short, they say, how much? And I'm looking at it. I got 90,000 built, which is well built. It's nice stuff, well maintained center, and 17%, and another 10,000 I can develop because they're empty pads. Mm-hmm. So,
price per square foot.
I even went below that. So they're into it for 30, loan for 21. Oh my. Take a guess what I offered them.
I would have offered them 10.
I offered them $5 million.
Oh, wow.
They talked to me. I cut a deal with the bank to buy the note for $5 million. And the guy had a personal guarantee. And I told the guy, I don't care about your personal guarantee. I had 2 tenants in tow with me, mm-hmm. Higher Vision Church and a software developer. Uh-huh. So I already had
people lined up, ready to go.
50,000 feet committed.
Yeah.
So it was a no-brainer. we couldn't get through the release of the guarantee, even though I promised the guy, I don't care about your guarantee. I'll release it as soon as you sign over the deed and don't claim any lender liability or go bankruptcy or anything like that.
Yeah.
Turns out the bank excused me off the tri-party phone call with the bank, the owner, and me, and ends up he bought it for $7 million back from the bank. He calls me up and says, I like you. You're my partner now. We're 50-50. I put up the $7 million already. I already own it free and clear. You put up the TIs and you bring your tenants, and we're 50-50 partners. Today we're 100% occupied, and the center is doing fabulous.
Fantastic. That's a great story. So moving forward for like these, what would you recommend people that own these centers that have the, like we talked about the center on Old Road in Valencia, that Albertsons that was there. You have a big box there. My vision, if I own something like that, I would say let's repurpose it. Let's tear that portion down. Let's do some multifamily, because multifamily we need housing.
Right.
What do you think about that, or what do you recommend for these people that are in these centers and have vacant spaces, the big boxes, they can't fill them, the Albertsons, the Vons, those guys don't want to go in. What's your recommendation for them?
They're usually called big box centers, and
Yeah.
no pun intended, is you got to think outside the box, because traditional retail is dead. I mentioned earlier I try and build Amazon-resistant centers where I'm not competing with them shipping anything they can ship very easily. So in our center at the Old Road and I-5-126, it was purposed for a furniture outlet. That was a destination. Because the ingress, egress, how do you get to that center?
It's tough.
Tough. So you have to have a destination tenant, first and foremost. So I was thinking, okay, how do I get a non-conforming use? Because you're not going to get a furniture there. You're not going to get a grocer there. You're not going to get traditional mid-box, Ross, TJ Maxx, shoe, anything,
And
sporting goods. You're not getting any of those.
And the city can't handle a lot of it. I mean, we have it now. We have two that just came up, but you can't have that on every corner.
Exactly. So now you start turning to, which some people labeled me as, I've done a ton of churches and I've done charter schools. So when you look at I call them non-conforming uses, where, hey, it's usually not typical to have this in a shopping center, is you look to churches, you look to charter schools, you look to medical. In that center we were talking about, we got a surgery center. Another center we have an urgent care. In another center, you can have a whole medical building. Sure. And you got to look where the trends are going, and also what you can utilize what's there. So we had a big box that was built for furniture, and we had a lot of parking. Church.
Perfect.
We had, from where I moved the church guy at, we had the same thing, put in a charter school. And on other ones, we put in medical. So really it's finding that use that would work there and that you can utilize a lot of what you have. The thing about going multifamily, it was great. It's really convincing the jurisdictions having authority, JHAs, that they'll allow you to put residential in a commercial zone, because then you got to get a zone change. You got to try and get it as mixed use, and it's really
Zone
difficult.
change, and there's the fees on that is incredible just to get that.
Yes.
That's what takes
And
time.
then you're going to tear down that building, and then you just lost that money, and then you got to now pay the new permit fees for residential, which are much higher than what it was for commercial.
Woo, again, fees.
Yes.
You know what we don't have out here? A nightclub. Have you noticed that?
I have.
There's only one and they put it at the mall. I think they count
Canyon Club.
The Canyon Club,
Yes.
yeah. But I looked at their, schedules and looked like they're doing much there. I mean,
yeah, I don't know that business, and everyone you always hear is just that's usually over the hill.
Over the hill, yeah.
Do we have the population here that will frequent those establishments, and will it work?
I don't think it will because, well, maybe on a smaller scale.
Yes.
But you have hardworking people here, mom and dad, kids. There's a big family community. nobody's going out to the club on Friday night.
I haven't been to a club, so I can tell you that.
I haven't been to a club in a while either. So let's talk about construction costs. I've on the multifamily side that I know very well, they're talking $250 to $300 a square foot to build. What is it? What is it in commercial? And how does that differ from retail to industrial as far as pricing?
Well, consistently, they're both up, and they're up considerably. We used to quote not long ago, just you mentioned TIs earlier. You know, a standard vanilla shell TI, we were quoting 35 to $40, 7-8 years ago. Now it's $80.
Wow.
It's about doubled. We would quote $100 a square foot for a gray shell multi-tenant building, $130 to $140 a foot. We're doing tilt-up construction. You know, we used to quote $50 for a building. Now it's $80, depending on size, of course, but consistently up. But not only that, where I've seen the biggest difference is site work. With all the new requirements for water retention, water filtration, and keeping water from exiting your site. And if it does, it has to be filtered and treated. So site work used to be $5, $6 a square foot on most projects. Now it's $12 a square foot.
Wow. And
so when you factor in, you know, an acre's 560 square foot, $6 a foot increase is a large increase.
Got it. So, I see in Santa Clarita there's a lot of land, and we'll talk about the old road, that big donut shape that has the contamination. Yeah. What would you envision there? Because I've been to several city meetings. I'm on the circuit, what they call, because I'm running for office, right. And I hear this topic come up. Everybody has their idea. From a developer and from what you see living in the city, what would you think would be a perfect for that site? Homes, what would you see there?
Which side are you talking about now? The old road and
the let's say like 14th, and it's the big donut shape in the middle of the city, by the railroad, where all the where is it the
Burmite site?
There you go, the Burmite
gotcha.
site.
Oh
yeah.
Yes, okay. So we would envision, and we're working on a similar project across Via Princesa. That for that extension off of what is New Hall Ranch Road, going up the hill there. But you really need something to draw people there, and I don't know if they're going to get the toxicity levels down enough where you could do residential. I haven't heard on that because it has a higher threshold than for commercial and industrial.
It's funny you say that. I'm in a deal right now in Woodland Hills to build 620 homes. It's an industrial site. There's a contamination there. They're cleaning it up, and I've been on that site now 3 years, and the water board loves contamination because what do you pay? That monthly fee every month for what they call just monitoring the cleanup.
Yeah.
And they're very slow on releasing it.
Exactly. But to answer your question, I mean, really, if we could have a true civic center there, where if with a city that continues to grow, if we could have a true civic center in the middle, and then start spreading out from there with office, retail, and then really, I would envision dense housing where you got mixed use, where you have more dense housing, and then you can have more open space and parks and things of that nature to really make it a destination.
Yeah, I think that's a good. I think everybody's pushing for that civic center. And what would the civic center have? Just.
Well, I'm assuming that we could hopefully convince the courthouses to go there. If you remember, a while ago there was courthouses being talked about being constructed. I don't know what happened to the money, but the courthouses here are just really way too small. City Hall,
old too.
A performing arts center, and then you start going down, library, and all the associated uses for all those, I think that could be a great start.
Yeah, and you have a lot of housing coming in if it gets off the ground finally, off the 126. That's going to draw a lot of people here. So the city is growing. I think growth is inevitable. It's just going to happen. And people are afraid of growth. They like the small community. But look, we have the best schools. If you work in the area, traffic isn't too bad. You have a lot of families. Football on the weekends is packed. I mean, I go to a Valencia game Friday night. You got 1,000+ people in there. People are still active. I mean, I love this community. This is the best place to be. I call it the secret of LA because it's so nice to be here. So great. Okay, what current projects are you working on now?
Well, just going back to I do as well. I've actually lived here all my life. I went to elementary school here, junior high, Canyon High, College of the Canyons. Then I went off to Claremont. So I love this community, and it's a good community because people care, and that's great. But as far as the current projects we have, I told you we're doing that.
Hold on one second. We're going to take a break, and then we'll come back. We'll talk a little about that, and then we'll talk some advice for the young guy out there looking to maybe make a move in real estate. All right. Once again, Dale Donohugh in office here. This is the Commercial Hour. Jesus Henao, and we'll be back.
Come join me, Arif Halby, for Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. Every Tuesday at noon, we uncover ways to help you manage your money, get out of debt, and prepare for your retirement. That's every Tuesday at noon on Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. Are you not sure if you can retire yet? Listen to us and learn about tips for savings, retirement strategies, and so much more. That's every Tuesday at noon on Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour on your hometown station, KHTS.
Halloween fun is coming to the Valencia Marketplace. Join us Saturday, October 20th from 3 to 6 p.m. for the Valencia Marketplace Kids Club. Check out your favorite stores, climb on our antique fire truck, and experience balloon magic by Magic Castle magician Dennis Farrell. Kids ages 12 and under can make a free holiday craft from 3 to 6 p.m., sponsored by the Montessori School of Stevenson Ranch, and participate in our Halloween costume parade at 4 p.m. At 7 p.m., there will be a free screening of a very popular family-friendly Halloween movie. Movie, music, prizes, crafts, magic, and lots of fun. Visit ValenciaMarketplace.com.
Your hometown station. It's no secret that KHTS has the best midday talk show lineup around. If you've missed any of your favorites, no problem. KHTS has you covered. Podcasts for all the midday shows can be found right on our website, hometownstation.com. Whether you missed a show from 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years ago, and you want to catch up, we got you covered. They're all right there. Plus extra podcasts too. That's hometownstation.com. hometownstation.com.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Do you think taxpayers should pay for politicians' political campaigns? Assembly candidate Christy Smith does. Christy Smith supports raising our taxes. But guess where the money would go? Christy Smith wants to spend as much as $600 million in taxpayer money paying for the annoying mail and TV that politicians bombard us with. Let that sink in. Assembly candidate Christy Smith wants you to pay for political campaigns, even for those politicians you disagree with. Let that sink in. Christy Smith would spend $600 million for politicians instead of better roads or better schools for our kids. Christy Smith is just wrong.
Women deserve equal pay for equal work. It's just that simple. That's what's good about Assemblyman Dante Acosta. Dante Acosta voted to require equal pay for equal work. And Dante Acosta voted to let every child attend pre-kindergarten. That's Dante Acosta. Bipartisan, independent, fair.
Paid for by Dante Acosta for Assembly 2018.
Your hometown station.
KHTS AM 1220 and the new 98.1 FM.
Welcome back, Santa Clarita. You're in the Commercial Hour. This is Jesus Henao of Leola Commercial. We have Dale Donohugh in studio. And as we wrap up our hour today, where were we at? We're going to talk about, current deals that you're doing.
Yes. So currently, for construction, we're doing a couple tilt-ups in the Commerce Center, right off the 126. We actually just lifted panels last week. If you've never seen a tilt-up panel being lifted, something you should see. It's exciting, especially when you got 300-ton crane lifting up panels, and
that's cool. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, it's nice. And so then we're like I said, we're developing that site at Skyline Ranch and Plum Canyon. We're developing a 40,000-foot medical office building in Bakersfield. We're just wrapping that up. Luckily, we got 100% leased and or sold during the building phase. So as soon as we get final inspection in December, it'll be 100%. We threw a condo map on that, which a lot of times we do in case we don't lease up. We're going to be able to sell it off.
Yeah.
Talking about that, we got almost that identical building going up at Old Orchard and Wiley at the old Einstein Academy. We're going to be doing a medical building there.
That's great.
Yes, and then like I told you during the break, the reason I couldn't be on the show 2 weeks ago in Hawaii, just finishing up a center there. Rents start today, which is awesome. Now we can start getting paid on that project. My partner was in it for 13 years to get approvals, so maybe Hawaii might be a little bit worse than California, but not by much. And first rent checks come in today.
That's good news.
And then we're actually going to buy the center next door to that one in Hawaii. And we were talking about on the break where that has a ground lease, that had a long-term ground lease that expires in 2020. So in the short term, while we own it for 1.5 to 2 years, we're not going to get much money on it. But once that ground lease expires, then we could renegotiate the rents to current market rents.
Perfect. Fantastic. And, there's a lot. I recommend the show to the guys at the real estate department at College of the Canyons. And there's, the young guy out there, he's thinking real estate. He sees, Donald Trump owns real estate. Jerry Buss owns real estate. Donald Sterling owns real estate. And they think of it as something they might get into. What recommendations do you have, whether it be in our business or anything else, to achieve success? Or what would you recommend? What advice do you got for them?
First and foremost, I would recommend getting involved. You can do that a myriad of ways. If you really want to be in commercial real estate, one, I think it's a great investment over the long term. So if you can't do a deal on your own, invest in a REIT, invest in a real estate company. My youngest son is at Indiana University. He doesn't have much money, but he's invested $1,000 in one project, $1,000 in another project. So I'm teaching him from a very early stage, invest now, because if you can invest in your 20s, when you're in your 60s, you're going to have quite a nest egg, and especially if you can also, just as a side note, invest in a Roth IRA now, and you're in 60s, you'll actually have millions of dollars just by the eighth wonder of the world, compound interest. So my advice is get involved, and they do have great courses over at College of the Canyons. Read up on the basics of real estate, and for me, it comes down to one thing: it's the flow of money is, and it's all related to what is the net income of the property when you're done. And if you can figure out that basic tenet of real estate, you'll do well.
It's funny you say that. I have 2 interns now. Young guys are in their third year of college. And I sat down with them and I said, okay, have you ever seen this document? And it was a W-2. And they're like, no, we've never, what is this? And I said, well, let's examine this a little closer. I showed them the gross income that, it was like, I think it's $50,000. A professional, actually, W-2. I said, okay, let's look at these numbers. Let's look at what's taken out, federal tax, state tax. And we started chipping away at it. And then I said, okay, now let's talk about just your home expenses. I mean, you're gonna go on your own, so you're gonna pay apartment rent. What's that gonna look like? And so we researched $1,500 for rent. Okay, let's talk about your cell phone. Let's talk about the gas. Let's talk about the car payment. Let's talk about the electrical, water. I mean, I went down the list. And then I said, okay, now let's take that from what after Uncle Sam took his cut, and what do we have left? And in most cases, when we did their numbers, the way they live, it was negative.
Right.
And I said, okay, this is your net income, what we talked about, your net operating income personally.
Yes.
And that's how I explained the real estate to them, because I put it in something something their parents have been telling them for many years, and they're like, I don't know what you mean by that. But when they heard it from somebody else, the light bulb went on. Hey, I get it. And I said, real estate's the same way. You have your income. You have your expenses, you have your net operating income, what's left over, and it's pretty much the same thing. And then how do you make those numbers work? Where do you cut? Do you increase rent? Do you get a better job, et cetera? And that's how I explained real estate to them. And I think it hit home because in reality, those are the numbers and everything. Would you say?
Absolutely. I read a book, and I recommend that people that get into real estate that really want to do multifamily, whether it's retail, industrial, office, it's all about net operating income. If you could figure out what your true income is and what your true expenses are, assuming it's not a triple net lease, and you need to know what that means and is everything covered in that, when it's all said and done, if you know your net operating income, you can determine the value of a property.
That's right, and that's associated with the cap rate.
Exactly.
And we'll leave it off with that. Once again, Dale Donohugh, thank you for coming in and for the advice.
Thank you, Jesus.
And we're here every week, every Monday, 12 to 1, the Commercial Hour.